Thank you so much. It is Thursday, January 18th for the January Economic Development Commission meeting. Before we get too far tonight, I just want to introduce Dwight. I think this is your first official meeting with us, Dwight. So I thought maybe we go around, introduce ourselves real quick, and then we'll let you introduce yourself. And that way we're not putting you on the spot too quickly. I know everybody's screen has a different rotation, so I'm just going to kind of call people out based upon how they are on my screen. And first on my screen is Cynthia. I know you know Cynthia. Have you met Rosemary yet? Rosemary, I'll put you on the spot first.
Hi, I'm Rosemary. I'm the administrative assistant over at the Mansfield Downtown Partnership. And one of the things that I do is I take notes and minutes and help staff this meeting. So we're really happy to have you here.
Thanks, Rosemary. Next on my screen is Nancy. Oh, Nancy, you're on mute.
I'm Nancy McKenney. I am the owner of Hops 44. I live in Tolland. That's it. Welcome.
Okay. Next on my screen, I have Brian.
Hi, Dwight. Welcome aboard. Like your smile and your attitude already. I'm Brian Coleman. I'm also on the town council, Mansfield Downtown Partnership, Town Gown, and a few other committees. I'm a busy guy. I'm glad that you're here to help us along.
Thank you, Brian. Next, I have Valessa.
Valessa Suter-Klein. I've been on the EDC a year and change now. Relatively new to Mansfield, coming up on 3 years, I think. And I work from home. I do solar policy, and just wanted to be involved in TAP.
Thank you, Valessa. Kristen, I have you next.
Sure. Hi, I'm Kristen Delay. Welcome to the EDC. I am an invested resident as well. I'm an audiologist and I have a small practice. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen. Lane, I have you next.
Hi, I'm Lane Watson. I'm an attorney. I live in Mansfield, and my personal dream is to have Mansfield do a Rivers Cuomo Day sometime. I know it'll never happen, but
we can dream though.
we can dream.
And Dwight, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, we certainly should. There's obviously good justification for that. I don't think anyone else has a better claim to having a Rivers Cuomo Day than Mansfield. My name's Dwight Coder, resident of Storrs, Mansfield since 2016. I live on Birchwood Heights Road. I am a professor at UConn in the English department and the associate head of the English department over there. I just got out of a round on the local government academy, and Ryan was compelling enough to persuade me to throw my hat in the ring for something. And as someone who grew up in a family of small business owners, my parents had an antique store for about 30 years, and then a uniform supply store, a nurse's uniform supply store, and always had their fingers in little pies. I've always taken a keen interest in small businesses and their success. I have two kids, both in the public school system. Well, one of them is at Mount Hope, but will be in the public school system soon enough. The other one is in kindergarten. And so in that capacity, I'm just an interested, invested member of the community. And I like Steve. He came and gave a presentation on the last day of the local government academy and was very winning in his pitch about the importance of the commission and what it does. So thanks a lot for letting me be here, and I look forward to listening mostly tonight and contributing in time.
Thank you very much. That was great, guys. That was very positive and uplifting. I think we're having an awesome meeting. So thank you all very much. Before we get too far into it, we have 2 sets of minutes to approve. And since we have a quorum, we'll go ahead and do this. First, I would take a motion to approve the minutes from our September meeting, September 21st.
I will make a motion to approve the September minutes.
Thank you, Alessa. And Nancy, I saw your hand up. I'm assuming that was the second. Awesome. Are there any corrections? Any edits? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye or raise your hand. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Well, no, Dwight abstains on the September one. The next set we have was from our last meeting in December. So again, I would ask for a motion on those. Kristen, thank you very much. Is there a second?
I'll
Alessa,
second.
all right. Any further discussion or clarification, edits? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, and Dwight will mark Dwight down for abstaining on that one. All right, thank you so much. Got the housekeeping out of the way. Next, we'll turn it over to subcommittee reports. The first one, I think, comes out of the governance subcommittee, and it's our EDC budget priorities for the upcoming year. And I don't know if Lane wants to take this one, or Cynthia, or who would like to kind of start this topic.
I'd be happy to let Cynthia take it if she's willing.
All right.
I can tell you about the discussions after she's described the budget.
Okay. No problem. So I'll just probably hit the highlights like I did with Lane and Valessa, and then open it up for Lane and Valessa's comments and any questions. So this is on page 12 of your packet, and just 3 buckets that we'll talk about. So the first one is just general economic development staffing. So the proposal is $50,000. This is up from $40,000, and this is something that I did discuss with the town manager in terms of just addressing the different work that we're doing, cost of living, that type of thing. So that is a change from the last couple of years. Again, I'll just hit some highlights. So we want to continue meetings with different commercial areas. So we met with the Mansfield Center businesses in August, and tomorrow I'll be getting a list of folks along 32. So basically from the intersection of 195 and 32 all the way down to the Wyndham line. So trying to bring those businesses together and just do an informal kind of networking discussion sometime hopefully in the next month or so. So that's something that Jennifer Kaufman and I have talked about, trying to bring that group together. We're continuing to work on Connecticut's countryside. Our main project right now is getting the website up and social media going. We have 4 applicants that we'll be interviewing in about 2 weeks to try to get that started. We had 10 apply, so we have a lot of interest in helping us with the website for that group. Updating the economic development website, that's definitely a priority. We're trying to figure out how that fits with some of the changes that the town is making to the website. So Kathleen Patterson, our office, has the lead there. Continue to hold business visits, continue to review development proposals and provide input to PZC and the council. We'll talk a little bit more about the cultural district later on in the agenda, but continue that evaluation of whether we want to have a cultural district in Mansfield. One other idea that Rosemary's been helping me with is looking at a possible facade improvement program for the town. Several towns have those, and that's something that she has done some research on, and I'm going to be sending that along to Ryan and have that discussed at a staff level, and then see if that's something that the council might be interested in. I won't go over the accomplishments because I think you know the accomplishments, but then going down to the second bucket, which is the positioning and marketing plan. So this is the plan that was approved by the town council in 2018. The key item there is implementing the wayfinding and signage plan. So we have an identified vendor, and we will be going to the council actually on Monday night. The bid came in higher than we had budgeted for. So there's a couple of different pockets of funding that's already in the town budget that we're looking at possibly putting toward the first phase, which is the park system and downtown stores. Lots of promotions that we've done in conjunction with the town's communication specialist, Margaret Chady. the other big piece is Taste of Towns, and I can also give an update either now or maybe under staff reports on where we are. And then the third bucket is Taste of Mansfield, and that also, the budget request is again $5,000 for this year. Couple of key items there is our Champion Award, and we'll talk about that and in a couple of minutes. The Farms to Families program, which Human Services runs, that's just really taken off. And again, I want to commend Dorothy over in Human Services for all the work that she's done on that program. We've also started a mini grant program to fund whether it's a town entity or nonprofit, but somebody who's looking for small dollar amounts to whether it's providing apples for an event where people can be reimbursed. And then to continue to do some tabling, or actually do some tabling, I think this Saturday, Rosemary, I think at the farmer's market, at the library, and then we'll be doing tabling in one of the ones in February, just to talk about what the Taste of Mansfield does and talk about different recipes, which Rosemary did a great job putting those together for Winter Welcome. So that's kind of the grand overview, and I'll turn it over to Lane and Valessa for any comments, and then if there's any questions.
Thanks, Cynthia. Yeah, my sort of overarching thought is still the same as it was when we talked about this in the subcommittee, which is it's amazing how much we get for a very, I think, very small budget. And, having been on this commission both before and we have that sort of assistance, and now it's, it was always impressive how much work the commission was able to do with just volunteers, but now the combination of volunteers and having a little professional assistance and direction, I think, we're just doing so many things now. It's really great.
Nothing in particular to add other than completely agree and really like just the gatherings of businesses by area, and then also the Steve, all the work you guys have done to talk to different businesses. I'm pretty excited about the new businesses opening up around town. So feeling good about Mansfield right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you both, or thank all three of you very much for your work in putting this together. If I'll open it up to the commission, if anyone else has any questions about it or thoughts. The way this kind of works is we'll incorporate this into our town council presentation, where we kind of explain to town council what our thoughts are for the future, or for this upcoming year, what our goals are, and then our budget request is all part of that presentation. All right. I'm going to say I don't see any hands, so it sounds like everyone's on board. This isn't too dramatically different than years past. In fact, it's very similar because I think our mission is kind of still very similar. So great, awesome. Well, we are done. I guess we probably need, at least for the good of the order, a motion to approve this. Would that be good, Cynthia? Or are we good just generic approval?
I think since we do have a quorum, if we can have a motion, I think that's great.
Awesome. Someone like to make a motion to approve the 2024-25 EDC budget priorities?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024-25 EDC budget priorities.
Thank you, Valessa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Nancy? Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye, raise your hand. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Awesome. Thank you guys very much. That's wonderful. I don't believe the other two subcommittees met since our last meeting, so I think that's the only business we have under subcommittee reports, unless I'm wrong. Cynthia?
No,
Am I right? Perfect, thank you. So from there, we'll turn it over to Cynthia for staff updates.
Yeah, so Taste of Towns starts a week from Monday, the 29th. Goes till February 11th, and really excited. Nancy, of course, is participating again from Hops. We have Dog Lane Cafe, Square Peg, Pliables, Nautical Bowls, Little Aladdin, Kathmandu Kitchen, Taco, Haven Hot Chicken, Fenton River, and Coyote Flaco. Coyote Flaco is not up on the website yet because they still need to formally submit their information, but they're confirmed. So that's 11 for Mansfield, which is up from 8 last year. So that's really exciting, I think. So go to Taste Two Towns, 2 as in the number 2, and then you can see the menus. And so I know that Mayor Moran and Mayor DeVivo are going to try to promote this over the coming week, and a couple of us will be on, actually I won't be, but on the 24th on the John Murphy Show. Nancy is with me, I think, on Wayne Norman on the 29th in the morning at 7:40.
I am. Can I just ask you a question about
Yeah.
that, Cynthia? I think somebody sent me an email. I can't find it. Did we get an email from somebody about that? But I can't find the email anywhere.
Okay, so
So it popped up on my phone.
yeah, let me follow up. Margaret is arranging some of that with Chris
Okay.
Macbo and Wyndham.
Thank
I
you.
think Wayne's is a call-in, but you actually can go there in person too. So let me check on that. So I'm writing a note.
Thank you.
So lots of publicity out there, and that'll be going out. I think a press release went out yesterday. We have postcards. Nancy, if you need more, let me know. I have some more in the office. Actually, I don't know if I might stop by on my way home and leave you some stuff, actually, if I remember. And yeah, so we're excited about that. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is the Connecticut's Countryside Business Forum, which you should have gotten an invite for that. That's February 7th from 4 to 6 over at the UConn Innovation Partnership Building. And we do need folks to RSVP to that because the UConn's giving tours. So Kara Workman at UConn's organizing that. We'll have one session, and these are pretty brief sessions, but one on AI and how that can be good for your business and also things to watch out for. And then Brenda Faluzzi from the town of Tolland is going to give a brief overview on CT Visit, the state of Connecticut's tourism website, and what businesses can be listed and how you go about doing that. And then we'll head over to Nancy's for a social, and then Brenda will do a little bit of one-on-one with people to help them with possibly getting on the website. So I think that's it for staff updates. If anyone has any questions.
Cynthia, with respect to Taste of Towns, I know we have more restaurants. It looks like there's more restaurants in general. Is that, were there more from Willimantic as well? About the same number.
I'd say I counted ours and I meant to count theirs and I didn't. So I think it's about the same. There's definitely some new ones in Wyndham as well. All of ours, we have 4 new ones, I think. 1, 2, 3, 5 new restaurants, and then we have one from last year that we haven't heard from. So I don't know if they'll be participating or not. So I know some folks are still working on them.
Well, I went to Hops 44 last year for the Taste of Towns, and it was awesome. So I'm looking forward to going back there again, trying this new menu because it looks equally as amazing.
Yeah, people have really put an all-out effort. So thanks to all the restaurants.
Great. Any other questions for Cynthia on staff updates? All right. Next, we have business updates, openings and closings. We've had a bunch of openings and a couple coming up. Cynthia, you want to run through the list there?
Sure, yeah, so Saturday, action packed in Nautical Bowls open in downtown stores. And I went and visited both of them yesterday. Action packed, I guess, was crazy busy from what I heard this weekend. And then Nautical Bowls was also busy. Pliables will have its grand opening at 10 o'clock on Saturday. If you want to brave the cold, they'll have some giveaways and I believe the Husky dog mascot will be there. So they've been open, I think, as everyone knows, for a couple weeks, but this is their grand opening, and Mayor Marianne will be there cutting the ribbon, and Kathleen in our office will be staffing it. So on Saturday. And I'm trying to think of other openings, or if anybody else knows. Yeah, Rosemary has one.
Yeah, there's also over in the Eastbrook area, since the last time the EDC met, the Fresh Monkey is officially open. The menu is in with the communications packet. It's a women-owned Connecticut-based chain. So they are now in the Eastbrook complex where Big Y is.
Wonderful. Anyone else happen to see any new openings or closings? It definitely seems like we're having way more openings over the last 6 months and a lot fewer closings, which is very encouraging for our area. It definitely seems like we're turning the corner. So
That's
positive
what we're here
signs.
for, right?
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. I don't know how much of it we could take credit for, but it's certainly a good trend, and we'd like.
Hey, we're
like to
heading
help
the
it
right
continue.
direction. I don't care how it happens.
I like it. I like it. All right. Housing updates. Cynthia, is that you gonna handle that one, or?
Yeah, so the I sent to you, I think it was this morning, from Sandy from planning, the notice on the public hearing for an extension of the multifamily housing moratorium. They are asking for comments by February 1st, and we won't meet until after February 1st. I think one of the key things is that, there were some exceptions for the first 6 months of the moratorium and for multifamily in certain zones, but they have taken off the exceptions. So my understanding, and I'm sorry, I didn't have time to delve into this too much, but if you look at under the draft section 3, under number 2, applies to new developments in excess of 5 total units with an average density greater than 3 units per acre shall be prohibited. And then they took out the exceptions for 55 and over, and for the planned business 4 zone. So that would, the thinking is that, go to public hearing on the 5th, and the proposal is to have the moratorium, be in effect till August 31st, 2024. And maybe just real brief, tied to this was the work that planning and zoning is doing on housing policy, and the housing workshop was, I want to say 2 weeks ago or so, and I listened in on that meeting, and I'm not sure who else on this call was there, but there was some discussion about, an overview of what housing units have come in over the last year, what ones are out there being planned, and then kind of a visual exercise, what do you like about the current ones, what do you don't like, and then some other design alternatives, not alternatives specifically, but just generally, what kind of design do you like about certain housing? So I think there's some work to be done there, and I think the thinking was, looking at whether there would be any changes to the zoning regulations related to multifamily.
There was a workshop a little while back for elected officials. There was a lot of input on that from all of us. I'm sure they're trying to tabulate all that and put that together, but what's the pulse of the community on this?
I'm sorry, is that question for me, or is that for the general EDC?
It's for the whole EDC. Is anybody hearing anything? What's the pulse of community? There is a lot of concern out there. that I'm hearing. Just wonder if anybody else is hearing anything.
I hear the same thing, Brian. Like, let's just put it on pause.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think one of the things that I noticed kind of looking back on this one is one of the points I've made for a really long time is the existing housing stock we have for rental inventory is super, super old. And none of us see it because it's all set back from the road so far. So for the first 30 years that I lived here, I never drove into Renwood or Carriage House or any of that kind of stuff. And it's kind of one of those out of sight, out of mind things. And so we didn't have to, we weren't aware, we didn't have to be aware. And so I think my kind of realization as we've kind of moved through this new construction phase of kind of restocking our town, all of these projects are very much in high visibility areas. So we went from having multifamily housing that was kind of tucked back away from the road and out of sight, out of mind to right along major roads, right? We have 44, 195, like you couldn't get two busier roads here in town. So I think that might be kind of a shock to a lot of people because we haven't had to look at it before and not everyone's seeing it. I know, like anecdotally from real estate, like if I have now nobody has any listings because there's nothing for sale. But back when I used to have listings for sale, I could have 5 listings in Mansfield scattered in 5 different neighborhoods and I wouldn't hear anything. But if I had 2 listings on 195, everyone I would talk to would say, oh my goodness, you have everything listed in town, which isn't true, but they drive by it so much, they see it all the time, they see it constantly, and it just seems that way. So, all the development is where we have decided as a town through the Mansfield 2000 and conservation plan of development for tomorrow and all that, where we want to see the development. I just think maybe it's a little bit more exposed than we thought, a little bit more exposed maybe than some people were ready for.
Some of the comments in that workshop were that they want to see more green. I don't think everybody's against housing development, but there's another project at the old golf course on Middle Turnpike that seems to be a little more well received because number one, they donated 25 acres there that connects to some town land, and it also has a lot more space and greenery in it. I think that's what people are tending to look for, I think, in these developments.
Alessa, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you sort of what your read on the housing market is, because we look around because once you buy a house, you can't stop looking around. And I think the moratorium hasn't really been in place long enough for anything to change. So I'm not opposed to extending it, but I think it doesn't get said enough. Like, I am so impressed by how Mansfield has prioritized density and building out very intentional areas. And I think it's fantastic. And I'm really excited about it. And I'm really excited about having been a renter about the new housing or options in Mansfield. So for what that's worth.
Any other comments on housing or questions?
I'm still kind of curious who's going to fill all these units. I guess we'll see.
I think, yeah, absolutely. All right. Next, we have the EDC calendar. So we have kind of a heads up of when our meetings are and what we tentatively have identified for those different meetings. Moving on to discussion items for tonight's meeting, we have our organizational meeting, which we kind of discussed this at the last one. We just didn't have a quorum. So now we need to kind of vote in what we discussed at the last one since we have an extra person. So this is chair, vice chair, and secretary, I think are the 3 titles. and everyone who served last year has volunteered to continue to serve in those positions. If someone would like to volunteer to run in one of those positions, oh, go ahead, Cynthia.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, we don't have a quorum anymore. Because Kristen had to leave, so just in
No,
terms.
we have 5.
Is that what we need? 5?
Yeah, 5,
Okay,
5
good
out of
with
9.
5. Okay, I'm sorry. In my brain, I had 6. Okay, you're right.
It's okay. 5 is the magic number. Yeah, so if anyone new wants to volunteer, that would be great. But if not, the 3 people from last year are willing to continue to serve in those roles. There's not really much, I don't want to say benefit, but we all get to contribute equally. It's more of a placeholder than anything else. But either speak now or forever hold your peace, at least until we do this again next year. All right, if we have no new volunteers, then is there a motion to accept the proposed slate of officers? What do we call it, Cynthia?
Yes, slate of officers.
There we go.
I'll make a motion to accept the officers.
Thank you, Nancy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Valessa. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Awesome. Any opposed? No abstention. Wonderful. Next, we have a review of the terms of the sitting members. I think the 2 who are coming up for renewal aren't here right now. So I
Sorry
know
to
since
interrupt
you
again,
chatted up-
Steve. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. We do need to go back to the work plan priorities.
Oh, sorry. I skipped right over that
Yeah,
one.
it's, I can see how you would do that. Yeah.
That's all right.
Kind of hanging
We'll-
out there at the bottom.
Cynthia, this is why you're here, to keep me on track. So, yes. So, work plan priorities. I think this is still in our packet. It starts on
Page 19.
page 19. There it is. So again, we discussed it at the last meeting, but we didn't have a quorum. So we have it here again. We can review it if anyone has any thoughts or any questions. Otherwise, I would take a motion to accept the work plan priorities as we discussed last time.
I'm happy to make a motion to advance them.
Thank you, Valessa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lane. All right. Is there any further discussion on the priorities?
No, I would just quickly add that in reference to the question about UConn students possibly helping out with the drafting of some of these stories that you mentioned in our meeting, Steve, I found someone who's kind of doing a joint marketing English degree who would be really optimal for this. And I mentioned it to her as a possibility. She's from Connecticut. She'd be a really interesting person to talk to at some point.
Awesome. Dwight, thank you so much. I will connect with you offline about that, but that's super awesome. We've been looking for someone like that for a very long time, so thank you. All right, if there's nothing else on the work plan, then all in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. All right, now we're back to, oh, go ahead.
Period. I'm
I'm
so
trying to
sorry.
keep it moving here,
No,
Cynthia.
I know. And Lane didn't call me out for my typo. There is a typo in there and I'm so sorry. Because Lane's my editor.
Yep, sorry.
Well, basketball capital of the works should be world. So we'll take care of that.
All right. We'll call it a friendly amendment that passes unanimously. Hey, speaking of basketball capital of the world, first time we've been ranked #1 since 2009. I'm shocked it's been that long. It doesn't feel like it's that long ago, but wow. All right, so now, unless I missed a typo or another agenda item, we can get on to the review of the terms of the members, but I think we get to skip that because they're not here. Is that correct, Cynthia? And we'll just take care of that offline. There's two members whose terms are coming up. All right. And then we'll move on to the discussion of Taste of Mansfield Champion Delegate. So every year, the EDC staff or helps the staff with the Taste of Mansfield Champions Award. The first year, I think Brian did it. Last year, Lucy did it. So if there's someone else who would like to take a shot at being the EDC rep on the Taste of Mansfield Champion Award, now is your chance to volunteer for what is sure to be an amazing time. I know somebody wants to volunteer for this.
What is it?
I'll let Cynthia, you want to kind of.
Sure, yes, of course. So this is something that the Taste of Mansfield group the EDC came up with, former member Ben Wiles, to try to recognize champions, whether they're businesses that support local food, whether they're producers, educators. And so it's been pretty successful. Will be our third year. So you get a plaque, you're recognized by the council. And so the lift for an EDC member is basically just attending a meeting and reviewing the applications. So the applications haven't even gone out yet. They'll go out the end of February and then due in March. And so it's probably an hour's worth of time to provide input into the applicants. And, you know, we usually pick 3 or 4, try to get all the categories.
It's an easy job and it's actually fun.
Sounds right up my alley. You can sign me up, but I'm new, so I might ask a lot of questions.
No, it's perfect for you.
Questions are great. Dwight, thank you very much. That's awesome. All right, fantastic. That's great. I guess next we have the Town Yukon collaboration update. I think that's a Cynthia topic.
Yeah, so we continue to have monthly staff meetings, and so that group is myself, Jennifer Kaufman, the Director of Planning and Development, Town Manager Ryan Aylesworth, Robert Corbett with Yukon Real Estate, and Kara Workman was one of the town gown reps, and so she will not be doing that piece anymore. And so Nathan First, who is a Mansfield resident, he is now the VP for Student Life and Enrollment. So he'll be part of that group. And we are going to meet with Pamir Alpay, who is the head of research at Yukon. And we periodically met with folks from the police side and housing side. So it's just a way for us to kind of keep working together and keeping the collaboration going and lines of communication open. So, so those meetings do continue.
Wonderful. That's encouraging news, and hopefully we can continue to improve communication and synergistic activities with the university. And then last under our discussion items tonight would be our quest to create a cultural district. Last night, we held the third public info session, which I had meant to attend, but was prohibited from getting there by some other conflicts that I had going on. So I don't know, I know Cynthia was there. I don't know if anyone else was there. Cynthia, if you want to give us a quick rundown of how that went and where we stand on that.
Sure, yeah. Brian was there also. So we had another good turnout. We went over what the asset mapping so far was showing. So at the second meeting, I think Valessa and Lane were at the second meeting. Folks went around and sort of said, where are the assets throughout town, and where did we seem to have a lot of cultural assets? So certainly the downtown and the Yukon community really has most of the assets if you're talking about a walkable district, which is one of the criteria from the state. But we did spend, quite a bit of time talking about Mansfield Center and Mansfield Hollow, especially with Kirby Mill, and how they could be integrated into the whole discussion of cultural assets. The exercise that the Cultural Coalition folks had people do was to put on a sticky, just one thing you would want out of a cultural district. And so since this was last night, it's still in my bag. I haven't looked at them yet, so we'll be putting that together. And what I, excuse me, told the group that, that Steve, you and I and Ryan, probably Jay O'Keefe, you know, as Director of Parks and Rec with the Arts Advisory Committee could get together and talk to the Cultural Coalition folks about next steps. You know, is this something we want to pursue? Typically it is a resolution or an ordinance by, the municipality. And so we just have to kind of talk about what our next steps are, going forward. And this is if the town decides to go through with trying to form a district, it's a process. And so this isn't, you know, something that would happen necessarily quickly. I know for the most part, it probably takes, you know, 6 months to 9 months to kind of go through the whole process. So
There's,
Brian, I don't know if you want to, yeah, go ahead.
there seems to
any-
be a misconception on the definition of cultural districts. I tried to promote it on Mansfield Connection last night, and people are confused about it. I think we need to kind of define it for the public. They get the impression that we're trying to segregate or create ethnic groups or areas in the town, and that's not what it's about. But apparently people are thinking that's what it is, and it's a bit confusing. If we could go out there and tell the people, you know, it's about, you know, businesses, diverse businesses, artists, musicians. It's about bringing people together. It's not about segregating population.
Yeah, and I would take it even a step further. It's about advertising the resources that our town has. So I think that, like, the reason that Nancy brought this up, and one of the reasons that I thought this was one of the things we should spend some time pursuing, is the state of Connecticut's going to put advertising dollars behind this to try to drive some tourism. And they're going to say, hey, look at all the cultural resources and assets that our state has. And we want to be one of those destinations that they're promoting, like, oh, come to Mansfield. They have all these great things that you can check out or experience or see. So it's more of a advertising promotion vehicle than it would be like trying to, you know, change zoning regs or create certain buildings or building code type thing. It's a way to drive more people to come experience the stuff that we have here in town. That's sort of where it is at the end of the day. And so, you know, certainly doesn't have anything to do, like Brian was saying before, it has nothing to do with culture in the sense of like Italians versus Polish people versus whatever nationality. It's more of a, you know, what arts, and whether they're performing or visual or whatever arts you have. And then like Cynthia said at the beginning, it's the district. One of the main requirements is that it's walkable. So our town is not a super walkable town. So you have to start kind of small, and then the vision would be to kind of grow it to include many of the wonderful assets we have that are a little bit more spread out, and that would certainly be part of the plan.
Another concern out there is the financial concern, and I believe that the financial impact of this is pretty low. It would be maybe some administrative cost to keep minutes of the meeting, you know, but it's not a high financial impact. That I've heard some concerns about that. I try to lay it to rest. It's not going to cost a lot of money, and you get the advertising in return, like you said, Steve.
Yeah, and if people are equating it to like a historic district, because that's something that people hear about a lot, that comes with a whole set of like planning and zoning restrictions or historic commission restrictions as to what you can do with your property and yada yada. This is not that at all. This is an advertising vehicle where when the state of Connecticut wants to promote its cultural assets, they're going to say, here, go to our website and here's all of our great cultural districts, and we'll be listed on there. And theoretically will help drive a little bit more tourism to support our artist community, whether that's performing or visual arts, and all of the great things we have here in town. Dwight, go ahead.
So setting aside the misunderstandings that Brian has been mentioning, misunderstandings as to what it is and misunderstandings about the cost. I'm just curious, what is the argument against doing this? I ask that just to fully understand like what we're getting input on. I mean, this seems just like a no-brainer administrative, like, yeah, let's do it. Sure, we'll be a cultural district and get free advertising. Like, am I not understanding some set of implications or regulatory or otherwise, or commitments that extend from this that members of the community might be opposed to? I'm just curious. I can't really fathom what those arguments would be, but I don't know exactly what's going on there.
Dwight, you stole my question. That was going to be my question to Cynthia, but before I ask, let me get to Valessa first.
Well, Cynthia has the answer to that, but at the second maybe at the second meeting, I missed the last one, unfortunately. I really wanted to see how the map played out because it seems like an absolute no-brainer, totally in favor of doing it, but the challenge was how do you find a walkable, dense area? And so Cynthia alluded to it, but it sounds like that did show up in the mapping, and it wasn't clear to me that that was going to happen. So as long as that's there, I saw no reason not to do it.
Cynthia, you want to?
Sure. Yeah. So to Dwight's point, Valessa's point. So one of the things that has come out, because we've had a lot of participation from areas not necessarily in the downtowns or Yukon. So for instance, the Kirby Mill, as I mentioned earlier, Waldron Studio has been very, very involved, very supportive. So we've talked a lot about how do we make sure that those areas get promoted as well. And to Steve's point too. So there's a variety of ways to do that. You can invite people into your cultural district, and then also, by the way, we have the Kirby Mill and they have this, and whether there's a brochure or something that's created we talked actually a lot last night about former silk mill being, I think, the first silk mill in the United States. We talked about stone walls. Is there a historic piece of it that's in Mansfield Center? Again, Kirby Mill. So there's different ways, and I think Wendy from the Cultural Coalition really wanted to promote that there's ways to continue to promote the whole town kind of through this avenue. And, Brian's point about the cost, I mean, it probably depends how you set it up. But if, my point last night was to try to use some sort of entity that's already there. So, one idea is to create some sort of EDC subcommittee that could take this on. And you already have staffing for that. And then, the Arts Advisory Committee that's part of, Parks and Rec staffs that, they need to be involved as well. And that's why I mentioned Jay O'Keefe. So for specific projects, there might be a cost, but I think the hope and goal would be if we went forward, you do this application, you have these meetings, but they're integrated in entities that are already working on this and staff that's already here.
I just want to say I absolutely support the cultural districts. If I throw something out there in the public arena and I get some feedback, I'm going to bring it to the committee because no matter what we put out there, you're going to get your critics, and sometimes you have to answer the critics.
All right. Well, I think it's good feedback to hear, and it helps craft the message. So we're making sure we're explaining ourselves and our goals, and not letting misinformation kind of fester. So next steps, I guess we'll meet, like you said, Cynthia, with Ryan and Jay and the Cultural Coalition, and then kind of bring it back to EDC with an update after that. Fantastic.
Yes.
I believe that is the end of our agenda, unless anybody has anything else they'd like to bring up at this point for the good of the order. All right. We have some great communications in the packet we had some press on the downtown. We have opening of Fresh Monkey. So always exciting to read positive news about our town. Our next meeting is February 15th, day after Valentine's Day. And between now and then, we'll have Taste of Town, so hopefully you guys can get out and experience that and have a great time with that, because that's always a great 2-week period. And I think that brings us to the end of our meeting. So
Brian,
anyone-
can I just say one thing? Didn't
Yeah,
Brian,
absolutely.
didn't Brian like live blog Taste Two Towns on Facebook last year? Are you gonna do that again? Thought that was great. Not sure if you wandered off.
Are you there,
I
Brian?
would like to do that again. That was actually a lot of fun. But it did take some work, and some out-of-pocket expenses. But sure, I'd like to do that again. Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah,
It was noted for what it's worth. I thought it was great.
yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for. Oh, Dwight, go ahead.
Could I borrow Cynthia or you, Steve, after this, just for a couple of minutes to talk about the Taste of Mansfield
Yeah.
thing? Just a
Absolutely.
moment. Thanks.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. If anyone wants to make a motion to adjourn,
I will make a motion to adjourn.
thank you, Valessa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Nancy, thank you very much. Thank you all so much. You can vote in the affirmative while you wave goodbye. Have a great evening. Thank you all for your help tonight, and we'll see you out and about during Taste of Towns.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.